Hello there, it is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-97-ERIC, 877-973-7425. Speaking of the minimum wage, you know, one of the things that fast food restaurants, for example, have been doing is they've increasingly gotten automated. You can go into a McDonald's now and go to a kiosk, and you can put in your order on a touch screen without ever having to interact with the person who gets your order wrong. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and some of you can laugh and ridicule. I don't care, because you're wrong. I don't like pickles on I don't like dill pickles, period. I don't want a pickle on my burger. I hate it when I go to a restaurant and they give me a dill pickle on the side. I hate dill pickles. I'll eat a sweet pickle, but I don't want it with my food. I'll put it in like chicken salad, but I don't normally just eat pickle. Nope, don't want it. And so I always, when I go to a drive-through, if I'm going through a burger place, we'll get a burger without pickles and with extra ketchup. It is my default order. And the number of times I have a McDonald's by my house, and thank goodness for the app, because I can go pull up at the little parking spot and put and my order always comes out right when I use the app. Half the time when I go through the drive-through, no pickles, extra ketchup, I wind up getting extra pickles, no ketchup. I wish I were making that up. Well, McDonald's is experimenting with something now. Hopefully they didn't get Apple to do this. As much as I love Apple, can we all admit Siri sucks? McDonald's is now going to use a automated AI voice system to take your order at the drive-thru. This is from Rachel Metz in CNN. At a McDonald's drive-thru in a Chicago suburb, customers may notice something different about the voice that takes their orders for Big Macs and fries. Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you? It asks in a welcoming, unmistakable feminine tone. While the voice sounds helpful, it's also stilted and monotonous enough for the average customer to figure out they're being served by a computer, not a human. It's a lot like Alexa or Siri, but for a drive-thru, a system driven by artificial intelligence that McDonald's is testing to speed up its service. In 2019, the average McDonald's drive-thru took 6 minutes, 18 seconds, but recently the company trimmed it to 5 minutes and 49 seconds, according to an annual report from market researcher C-Level HX. And with drive-thrus accounting for a larger share of fast food sales than ever before, the race is on for major chains to get those speeds even faster. During the pandemic, chains have relied more heavily on sales through the drive-thrus while dining rooms remain closed. Even restaurants like Chipotle and Shake Shack are opening its first drive-thrus. For chains that already have drive-thrus, slow service, long lines, inaccurate orders are always a threat. Well, they're now experimenting with smart board menus, Alexa-style assistants. If the 1950s were the golden age of fast food, then the 2020s could be the golden age of drive-thru tech. God help us if the machines get it worse than the people are already screwing it up. And some of them are quite great, by the way. But, man, the number of double pickles, no ketchup. Ugh. Nope. Don't like it. I'm opposed. Maybe this will be better. Hello there, it is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-97-ERIC, 877-973-7425. If you would like to call in, well, I already talked. Here, I got to talk about this one. My show. Look, we're going to get to Mr. Potato Head. I promise. We will get to Mr. Potato Head. Oath Keepers and Proud Boys want public defenders. And the Constitution they sought to upend protects that right. This is actually kind of a hilarious story. Members of the media and some public interest lawyers are upset they may have to represent Trump supporters. Listen, just listen to this. When Jessica Watkins and fellow members of the Oath Keepers militia stormed the U.S. Capitol building, dressed in tactical gear and moving in a military stack formation, their aim, the FBI says, was to stop the government from conducting a peaceful transition of power. Now, that same government will pay to defend many of them against the charges they face, with a total cost of their court cases costing millions of taxpayers' dollars. More than 200 people now face local and federal charges in connection with the Capitol riot. The charges range in severity from parading in a Capitol building, a misdemeanor with a maximum sentence of 6 months in prison, to assault on a federal law enforcement officer with a deadly weapon, which carries a maximum penalty of 20 years behind bars. A WUSA 9, that's a CBS affiliate, analysis of cases currently filed in connection with the Capitol riot found more than 60 defendants who have already been granted taxpayer-funded representation either through the Federal Public Defender's Office or private counsel appointed through the Criminal Justice Act, a 1964 law passed by Congress to ensure federal defendants had adequate legal representation as guaranteed by the Sixth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It's a law that will now help defend people accused of assaulting the very chamber where it was passed. If you punch irony into Wikipedia, it should show a picture of all this going on, says Bernie Grimm. Grimm worked for years as a federal public defender. He says in his experience, once you add in the price of all the taxpayer-funded defense attorneys to the prosecutors, investigators, jurors, judges, and everything else the public will have to pay for, the total price tag for justice for the Capitol riot will be eye-popping. We're talking millions of dollars, Grimm said, millions of dollars. And it's all going to be taxpayer money. And the irony of this whole thing is the document these protesters arm themselves with to say, the document says I can come up here, come in the Senate chamber. That same document is going to protect those people, give them a right to a trial or a right to a free lawyer, cross-examine, call witnesses. I've never seen anything like that. Just who will the public be paying to defend their cases? Among those we found who have public defenders are so far Kevin Seafried, the man captured in a viral photograph parading a Confederate flag. Eric Munchel and his mother, Lisa Eisenhart, who were photographed climbing through the Senate chambers with zip-tie handcuffs. Robert Packer, the man who wore a Camp Auschwitz sweatshirt while storming the Capitol. Riley Williams, the Pennsylvania woman accused of stealing Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi's laptop. William Cressman, a retired Marine and alleged Proud Boy accused of threatening police and wielding an axe handle. Dominic Pizzola, another Proud Boy, photographed breaking windows at the front of the pack. Emmanuel Jackson, the man caught on security cameras attacking Capitol Police with a metal baseball bat. Jenny Chudd, a Texas small business owner who wore a Trump flag like a cape while storming the Capitol and then asked a judge to let her go on a work-related bonding trip to Mexico. Really? Wow. The administrative office of the U.S. court says it's not uncommon for a defendant in a federal case to get a court-appointed attorney. So many federal public defenders have been requested by and granted to defendants in the Capitol riot. The Federal Public Defender's Office is running out of staff and forcing judges to appoint court-appointed counsel under the Criminal Justice Act. Criminal justice attorneys, as they are termed, are private attorneys acting as public defenders paid using public funds. They're to make $152 an hour, which is supposed to max out at $11,800 for a felony, $8,400 for an appeal. The limits in misdemeanor cases are $3,400 and $8,400. However, those limits are misleading because these lawyers can request a waiver from a judge to be paid more. But not all alleged Capitol rioters who've requested a public defender have received one. A judge denied a request for taxpayer representation for Cleveland Meredith, a former Atlanta car wash owner, accused of threatening to put a bullet in Pelosi's head. Public representation was also denied to Andrew Wrigley, a Pennsylvania artist accused of taking selfies in the middle of the mob. Wow, these people. All right. There's a point here. Instead of being outraged by this, and there are a lot of people out there, how dare we give these people representation? Don't we want to show that the system works? Don't we want to show that the system is better than they thought it was? We should actually be proud of our system working. That the people who would undermine the system will be represented by that system. They will get a constitutional defense. We don't deny them a defense because they sought to disrupt the Electoral College's votes being counted. Instead of being angry about this, as some people are, I think we should be even more proud of our system. You've got a group of people. We're not going to argue about who these people were. But you have a group of people who stormed the U.S. Capitol, some of them with zip ties, some of them actually intent on causing real harm, some of them looking to kill the Vice President of the United States, and some of them just swept up in the frenzy. Some of them thinking it's a public building, we're allowed to walk in. Some of them coming in after the fact to see what happened, and they're swept up in it too. Some of them who genuinely meant no harm, and some who were genuinely malicious. Some of them just went with the herd, went with the crowd, lemmings. Some of them leaders, some of them lemmings, some of them curiosity, killed the cat. Satisfaction isn't going to bring it back this time. And yet our system is so good and robust and strong that they're all going to get representation if they can't afford it. Some of them were denied federal representation because they actually can't afford their own lawyer. But a lot of them really can't. And our American system is going to give them a due process, give them a fair judgment, a trial by a jury, before a jury of their peers, and they're going to get a lawyer paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. Now, there is an irony here. Some of these people, maybe some of them were small government. The government spends too much people, and now they're going to be causing the federal government to be blowing through a budget. There's some irony there. There is some humor there. You can point out that the humor there, that the system will give them benefits, rights, and due process in ways they were otherwise intent on disrupting. But that's the genius of our system. The great fairness, the intrinsic fairness of the American system. And there's something else here, too, to pay attention to. On the left these days, they continue to say that America's not fair, America's bad. America, we're not a good nation. 400 years of a criminal enterprise, and a left-wing activist called it the other day. And yet they're doing this. And some of them say, well, they wouldn't do it for me, or they wouldn't do it if you're black. No, actually, they do it for everybody. They do it for everybody. And what I find, I guess, really humorously ironic here is a lot of the people who are upset about these people getting federally appointed, federally paid for, taxpayer paid for lawyers. These are the people who scream the loudest about how unfair our system is. You've come full circle. Two extremes actually meet up. The people who wanted to undermine the system is taking care of them. The people who believe the system undermines everyone are seeing that the system actually doesn't. And all they can do is scream and say, well, if they were black, it wouldn't happen, but actually it would. I mean, the number of people who said, oh, well, if they were, look what would happen. If they were black and stormed the Capitol, they all would have been shot. No, actually, we've seen people, they burned down Washington, D.C., and Kamala Harris raised money to get them out of jail. System works. The country works. Yes. Did the country have racism? Yes. Does the country have racism now? Yes. Are there things we still have to work on? Yes. Are we still better than every other country? Yes, indeed. Is the system still inherently stacked against minorities? No, of course not. And you know how I know that? It goes back to Voltaire. Who can you not laugh at? The people you can't make jokes about are the people who are really in charge. You make jokes. The people who can get you fired, they're the ones in charge. And right now it's the left, the woke mob. Boko Haram runs the country. And it's a bunch of white kids who are absolving themselves of their guilt by taking up the cause of people who are not white, who themselves are, in many cases, being left behind in a system controlled by the very white elite people who say they care about them. Who believe the system is so deeply flawed. And yet our system is robust. See, all the people who've made a big deal about Donald Trump was some sort of authoritarian and oh my goodness, how can the Republicans not stand up to it? The system worked. It's not great. It certainly had problems. January 6th highlighted those problems. Had the Capitol Police been more aggressive, maybe things would have been different. Had people not been lied to for multiple months, absolutely, things would have been different. But the system works. There was still a peaceful transition of power. Wasn't perfect, but it happened. There were no tanks in the street. National Guard did have to show up because of some of the crazies. But there were no tanks in the street. There's no military coup. Donald Trump is not the president. He's not going to be president on January or March 6th or whenever. You know, there's a conspiracy now circulating that he's going to come back now on March 6th, which was the original inaugural day before the Constitution was amended. Yep, that's actually floating out there. Our system still works. It has its problems, and it's not perfect, but it works, and it works better than other countries. And in China, a lot of people on the left are infatuated by China. That, look, China just works. China wants to build a high-speed rail. By God, they're going to build a high-speed rail. Yeah, but it's probably going to fall over in a year and a half, and people are going to get killed. The Chinese put on a good veneer, but underneath everything is rotted. They're clamping down on democracy in Hong Kong. I would rather the messy chaos of the American system than the authoritarian, totalitarian regime that runs concentration camps that is China. And all of these people, well, most of these people, not all of them, most of them would too. We've got a system that does good. And the people who stormed the Capitol, who can't afford lawyers, who wanted to undermine the system and undermine the constitutional processes, they're going to get taken care of as well because they're American citizens. They're not going to get sent to Gitmo for the rest of their lives. They're going to get taken care of by the system. And we should all applaud that. We shouldn't condemn it. We shouldn't yell about it. We shouldn't say it's unfair. We shouldn't say this is an outrage or this is an injustice. It's the way the system works for every American citizen. And God bless the Republic.
You can follow Erick around social media at
Hello there. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-97-ERIC, 877-973-7425. I'm going to get to Mr. Potato Head. I promise. I'm going to get to Mr. Potato Head. Before I get to Mr. Potato Head, the number of people who are texting me about Mr. Potato Head this morning, I promise. I promise. We will get there. Just wait. I got something else I want to talk about. UFOs. Let's talk about. You can identify all the parts on Mr. Potato Head. I just the last time I tried to stick that male part on Mr. Potato Head, yeah, I'm kind of glad they've chopped it off. All right, I'm sorry. UFOs. The pilot of an American Airlines flight bound for Phoenix Sunday reported an alarming sight while cruising over an area near Des Moines, New Mexico. Des Moines, New Mexico. I didn't know there was a Des Moines, New Mexico. And now I'm curious. I gotta find, where is Des Moines, New Mexico? It's like the people who call me from Auburn all the time. I get people who call me from Auburn. And I want to answer the call, roll tide, just to annoy them. But it's Auburn, Georgia. Okay, so there is, it's even like, it makes it on the map. It's like significant enough to make it on the map. It is in the northeast corner of New Mexico. It is closer to Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas than it is to Albuquerque or Santa Fe. I knew there was a Las Vegas, New Mexico, but sure enough, yep, there it is. Des Moines, it's how big is this place? Let's load the satellite and see. Oh, great goodness. I mean, it's not, is it? Wait, whoa. I see a school. There may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are like 10 blocks in this town. It is definitely a town. There's a Have a Cup Cafe, and there's an M&M Inn. It looks like Norman Bates would run a place like that. Not that he does that one. I'm sure it's a lovely place on